Welcome to Mainland Television Regional News. I'm Graham O'Brien, and coming up in today's bulletin, who's in power at Grey Power? Nelson's dangerous Houdini at it again. Are people going to the free events? No rain can only mean one thing, and much more. Grey Power has been in an internal turmoil since it all erupted late last year with a call for the organisation's president, Neville Mayle, to resign after a vote of no confidence. Accusations over his management style seem to be the crux of the discontent from some of the membership, with Vice President Kevin Gardner having said that Mayle should go. We had Neville Mayle into Mainland to talk to us about why he hasn't stepped aside. Tell us, what are your reasons for not resigning?
Why am I wanting to stay on? Well, first of all, the decision and the vote that was taken 6-3, as you've mentioned, was at an illegal meeting where not all of the management committee were in attendance. It was not done in accord with our constitution, which requires notice to be served on our secretary and due time given for the matter to be put on an agenda for a meeting. None of that happened. It was an ambush attack at a meeting, vote of no confidence extended. In any event, the vote of no confidence does not require the president of the organisation to resign. Vote of no confidence is something that is raised, and if it's done in the proper process, at a meeting, and it lies on the table until such time as parties have the opportunity to respond to that. None of that was done. In a subsequent number of meetings that have been held by this group, all of the constitutional processes have been ignored, and so it's just led to this complete confusion in the minds of our membership about what's been going on in the organisation. I am staying on because when I was elected 2 years ago, I was given a mandate to make change. When I stood up and said to the membership, I want to be your president, but the proviso is that you must accept that I'll come on board with a view to making change to make Nelson Grey Power a much more viable, professional, respected organisation. I was voted in on that basis, and I've continued down that pathway ever since. This 11th hour attempt to stop this happening has arisen as a result, as I mentioned, of the restructuring exercise, the fact that a particular individual is to lose her job as a result of it, and that has been really the catalyst for this opposition suddenly, very late in the piece, to be mounted against my presidency, and every attempt is being made to get me out of there. Well, you'll be aware of the fact that last week there was an issue with my being denied access to the office, where the office keys were changed. Since then, I had a notice served on me about a week ago suggesting that there might be an action taken by this dissident group to have my membership of the association, not my role as president, but my membership of the association, cancelled. Well, I've learnt overnight that there has been a meeting. They have cancelled my membership. That will not affect in any way the special general meeting that's set down for tomorrow night. That meeting was called by a large group of our membership who want this matter sorted out. All that you could say about an attempt to have my membership cancelled is a way to sabotage that meeting going ahead. In other words, saying, well, you can't have Neville Mayle at this meeting because he is no longer a member. That action taken yesterday is totally illegal. Once again, due process was not followed, and so I'm ignoring the result of that. People often ask me about what I've been able to achieve as president of Grey Power, and I can say that we've, in my time, achieved a lot of things. If I can list some of them for you, first of all, we've been strong advocates in terms of the wood burner policy with Nelson City Council, obviously representing a lot of our older people who are struggling in cold homes during the winter. I've been elected to the Nelson Marlborough District Health Board top of the South Hospital Review Committee as a community representative. I've been probably the main instigator of the development of a community plan for our older persons, working with a number of organisations throughout who've got roles to play dealing with older people. I've also made representations on behalf of our Richmond-based members in terms of the Waimea Dam issue, which was going to affect their rates in a big way. Obviously, I've moved them into a new office. We've introduced some new technology. We have a new branding image. All of that's occurred during the time that I've been president. So, I mean, these are issues that the work is not yet completely done, but there's some of the things that so far that I've been involved with that have shown, and I think have put Nelson Grey Power in a good light.
And how do you feel about getting your members down to this special general meeting tomorrow? You want as many people there as possible?
Graham, look, I'd love to have all of our members there. It'd be impossible to cater for 9,700 members, of course, but look, this is all about they're determining the future of Nelson Grey Power. If they want to see progress made, if they want to continue with the mandate they gave me 2 years ago, then they've got to get down there and support me so that I can see that happen. The attempts that have been made by this dissident group to stop this meeting happening are all about denying the membership the right to have their say, and membership should not tolerate that for 1 minute. So, yes, 5 o'clock tomorrow, Thursday, at the Nelson Suburban Club. Would love to see as many members as possible be there for that.
Just before going to air, Chrissy Small spoke to Kevin Gardner, who informed Mainland that the Management Committee had cancelled Thursday meeting due to Neville Mail's membership being cancelled. However, it is understood by Mainland that Neville Mail is expecting the meeting to go ahead as planned. Police are seeking any sights of a wanted man, 25-year-old Chasey Duncan, who has escaped police custody, and there is now a warrant out for his arrest. Described as having extensive tattoos on both his arms, Duncan is of Māori descent, standing at approximately 188 centimetres tall. Formerly of Stoke, it is believed he is in the Nelson area, and police are warning that anyone assisting him to evade arrest could also face charges. Duncan has an extensive criminal history, including assaults and burglaries. And this is not the first time that he has escaped custody. In 2007, when only 17, he had escaped from a police paddy wagon after a burglary charge court appearance on January the 5th that year. In 2012, unable to stay out of trouble, Duncan was spotted stealing at a hotel in Havelock. In a bid to escape, he ran over a 67-year-old pedestrian and dragged a bartender down the main state highway. In relation to that incident, he was also charged for punching a Blenheim police officer. If you have seen Duncan or have any information on his whereabouts, please call Nelson Police on 546 3840 or anonymously calling Crime Stoppers 0800 555 111. Free parking is costing the people of Nelson $400,000. Free parking in Nelson, the ill-fated Gigatown competition, and free Wi-Fi in the city, which are all lobbied projects by Uniquely Nelson, who is, along with Nelson Tasman Tourism, funded by Nelson ratepayers. Some of these had been funded by paid parking before free parking was introduced. So how does that translate for the city? The Mayor suggests that NBus, which is infamous for running half empty and the adverts promoting Richmond, and or the Maitai Walkway, which went hundreds of thousands over budget due to little oversight on some contractors, it is believed, may have to be paid from general rates. Unfortunately, there is no talk of reducing spending on trinkets such as concrete seats from Spain, painted strips on pathways that need ongoing maintenance, and other such whimsical spending of ratepayers' hard-earned wages. Nelson tops spending throughout the country for the holiday season, according to Paymark figures for December, showing the retail spend in Nelson was up 8.2% on 2013. Should Uniquely Nelson not stand on its own 2 feet and be funded by the business community that it lobbies for, as it used to be? Could Nelson Tasman Tourism also look to the businesses it helps to support in its efforts rather than continue to rely on funding from the ratepayers of Nelson for the benefit of business, with many based in Tasman? Nelson City Council Chief Executive Claire Hadley has said that cities are recognising that how you do parking has an impact on your city, which it seems is why Wellington has brought parking back to being an in-house operation after outrage by its community over excessive enforcement by a contractor for revenue gathering. And it begs the question, where was the need for parking to be outsourced in Nelson? Water restrictions now have been reintroduced in the Tasman District. Tasman District Council's Dry Weather Task Force convener, Dennis Bush-King, said today that low January rainfall and declining river and groundwater levels have meant that restrictions need to be imposed. It is not only the Waimea Plains suffering from dry conditions, permit holders in Golden Bay already under restrictions, and Rewaka water users are sharing river flow. There is also concern about the Mutri area with surface water users reaching the cease take point. Watering restrictions are also introduced with immediate effect for urban water users in Richmond, Mapua, Ruby Bay, Brightwater and Hope and their rural extensions. Only handheld hosing of gardens every second day is permitted according to your house number. Mr Bush King said that Tasman was now following other parts of the South Island and facing the prospect of more dry conditions over the rest of summer. Bush King says that under the new Tasman Resource Management Plan's no dam provisions, similar water levels would see a higher level of restrictions imposed. Water permit holders on the Waimea Plains would be facing a 50% restriction on their consented water take levels that would have already been reduced depending on the outcome of the consent reviews in 2016-17. Earlier this week we covered some up-and-coming events sponsored by you the ratepayer. These summertime events are free, but are people really interested in going? I went out and asked some people that question in the street. Lots of events happening in Nelson for the summer in Nelson. Which ones have you attended or which ones are you looking forward to going to?
Yeah, I've been to the Movies in the Park.
Oh, nice.
Little Women was awesome, and so was the Streetcar Named Desire.
Yes. Good old classics.
Yeah, they were good.
Kai Festival.
And the Kai-
Yes, we're going to that.
We will be doing some of them, yes.
Maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Buskers are pretty cool to go to. Yeah, awesome.
But I will be keeping an eye out on it, and I'll be going if I can.
Yeah, maybe to the concert thing.
Yeah, the buskers sound cool. We're going to rock out, aren't we, Amy?
I haven't been to any yet. I was going to go to one of those movies though. They look real cool.
Oh, yeah.
I went to that last year. That was pretty cool. It's real cool for like kids our age too, giving them something to do.
Even the other night, the wife and a friend went and sat outside in the dark to see one of the old films.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, fantastic.
Liked every minute of it.
In your opinion, are these events a good use of ratepayers' money?
Yes, I think it's fantastic. It's great for Nelson, brings people into Nelson, and it's a really good idea. Yeah, it's great.
Because it's huge, like heaps of people go along, and it's so much fun for people. Like the whole family could go, or you can go with your mates, and then you see other people you know, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, people are into them and makes people happy. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's good. Not having to pay for them. I mean, like we're uni students, so you can't really afford them. Just good that they're free.
Definitely, yeah. I think it builds community and builds a good sense of friendship and stuff. Yeah.
Probably not if they're just local bands, but yeah, if they're decent things, then yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great way to get the city involved and everything.
Marvellous, and we've been coming here now, for 15 years. We keep coming for 3 months, and then we go back home to the UK, because then it's nice and sunny there then, so we get the sun here and the sun in London.
Local Nelson Tasman country music musician Ali Cook has just arrived back in town this week after a successful time in Australia, where she performed representing New Zealand in honour of the late Tex Morton. It's been a while since we have had a catch up on her busy life, so Chrissy Small caught up with Ali soon after she had landed in Nelson.
This latest escapade has had you representing New Zealand for a special tribute. Can you tell me a bit about it?
After last Tamworth Country Music Festival, I was contacted and asked to perform the role of Renown this year, which is it's quite an honour. It's sort of something you've got to be invited to do, and it's where a member of Australian country music is inducted every year into the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Australian Country Music Hall of Fame. It's called the Role of Renown concert. And a part of that is that you have to do the song of a former inductee, and you have to do one of your own songs, so you do 2 songs on the evening. And I chose to do a Tex Morton song, because of course Tex Morton is originally from Nelson, and they were pretty pleased about that, because he was also the very first inductee of the Australian Country Music Hall of Fame, and he's considered as like the grandfather of Australian country music. So a lot of people like Slim Dusty, etc., that came after him looked up to him. He's very revered in Australia. There's actually a big bronze bust of him in Bicentennial Park, Tuato Bicentennial Park, where a lot of the concerts are held during the Tamworth Country Music Festival week. And so I did a song called Mandrake and did Western Line, which is a new song from my album. So I did those 2 songs and it was really great. There was a really good backing band with 3 backing vocalists and pedal steel and big stage full of people. And of course this year's inductee just happened to be Lee Kernahan, former Australian of the Year, and probably the most prominent person in Australian country music. So he was inducted. We came along knowing that he would be the inductee, and then they surprised his father, which was very cool because Ray Kernahan's had a huge involvement stemming back many, many years in Australian country music. So they did a double induction of him and his father. So his father was sitting in the audience fully expecting just for Lee to be inducted, and he got called up to the stage. It was a pretty special moment. And met the whole Kernahan family because Tanya was also performing on that as well, along with Dean Perrott, Justin Stanley, lots of Australian artists. So yeah, it's good.
Well, so it was a big event, and were you the only Kiwi there?
No, Tex was on the screen behind me while I was playing, so I wasn't the only Nelsonian that was actually visually there. Of course, because Tex Morton is well and truly passed away now, But yeah, there would have been Kiwis in the audience as well, for sure. There's quite a large contingent of Kiwis go over, particularly from Gore, that go over every year for the Tamworth Country Music Festival. So I was not the only Kiwi there, but certainly the only Kiwi on the stage. Yep.
So Ellie, of course, a great honour, and you've got to perform one of your own songs. Now you've got a second album that you're busy working on at the moment. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So I've crowdfunded for that album as well, and we're nearing completion of that album, and so there's quite a few songs that are written. I just released a pre-release during Tamworth Country Music Festival of a disc, which has been autographed and numbered, which I was selling at Tamworth. I've still got a few copies left for my investors that have invested in my album, and 1 or 2 others. If people want them, they can contact me through my website. But that's a song called No Phone, No Mail, No Internet, which I co-wrote with Alan Jansen, my producer, and Alan Caswell, who's a very well-known Australian songwriter. Probably New Zealanders would best remember him for a song called You Don't Bring Me Roses, or On the Inside was actually the name of the song from the film, from the television series Prisoner. So most Kiwis would know that song. He wrote that song. So I co-wrote this song called No Phone, No Mail, No Internet, and it's an album track, but we just put it out as a pre-release from the album just for Tamworth, because it was actually written in Tamworth when I was there during the winter.
Yep. Tell us a bit about your Jimmy Little Foundation.
My Jimmy Little Foundation t-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, so back in 2 Gympie Music Musters ago, when I was over there, I met Buzz Bidstrup, who's the ex-drummer from Gangajang and the Angels, and he was 13 years Jimmy Little's manager. Jimmy Little's a very well-known Aboriginal performer. He was very loved and did a lot for Aboriginal people over there, and he started the Jimmy Little Foundation, and he passed away a couple of years ago, and Buzz has continued his work. They go out and outreach into Aboriginal communities, and they have the Thumbs Up, Uncle Jimmy Thumbs Up program, which they take music into the schools and they teach kids about good tucker, thumbs up to good tucker, and because the average life expectancy of Aboriginal males is actually 56 years of age. It's really young. They get diabetes, the food's not being, good food's not being eaten, so they're encouraging for them to eat good food, but they're also encouraging the kids to get into school, because there's a lot of kids over there that actually aren't in school. Their rules and regulations are slightly different in Australia to ours. Of course, we just couldn't do that in New Zealand. No. Basically bringing an awareness to Uncle Jimmy's, to the Uncle Jimmy Thumbs Up program and to the Jimmy Little Foundation. So I'm just donating some time to help promote the work that they do, and then there are people physically getting out into the communities and doing that work, doctors and people who work with difficult children, drug and alcohol counselling, good nutrition and all that sort of stuff. So it's just to bring awareness to get the funding going.
Right. Is there a website people can check it out on?
Yeah, if they go to jlf.com.au, I think it is, so I'll have to double check that, but yeah, so just Google Jimmy Little Foundation and go and have a look at what they do.
Ali Cook, lovely to have you home. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for your time today and the best of luck.
Thank you.
After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.